Rain fell softly that evening over the glowing windows of La Mervelle, the city's most luxurious restaurant. The kind of place where fortunes met in silence, and secrets hid behind silk dresses and designer smiles. At a small corner table near the window sat Ethan Cole, a man whose life had not known luxury for years. His suit was borrowed, his shoes slightly scuffed, but his eyes carried something far rarer than money, quiet strength. Across from him sat his 8-year-old daughter, Lila, her small hands folded neatly in her lap, her hair tied with a worn pink ribbon. It was their first dinner out in months. Ethan wanted to make her birthday special. She'd been through too much already. Losing her mother 2 years ago had turned her laughter into whispers and her drawings into dreams of mom in heaven. Ethan had promised her that one day he'd make her feel like the princess her mother always said she was. Tonight, this dinner was his attempt at that promise. He didn't belong in this restaurant. He knew it. Everyone could see it, from the waiter's polite frown to the guests who looked up from their gold-edged menus. But he didn't care. Tonight, his daughter mattered more than anyone's judgment. Across the hall, Isabella Knight, daughter of real estate tycoon Arthur Knight, entered with quiet grace. Every head turned. She was the woman whose family name built half the skyline. Yet behind her poise was something hollow. Money had surrounded her, but loneliness had grown even larger. Her father was powerful, her friends were polished, but none were real. As she sat with her father and his business associates, her eyes wandered, perhaps to escape the endless talk of profit and expansion. That's when she noticed the small table by the window. A man, clearly out of place, cutting a slice of cake so carefully that he didn't notice the frosting falling onto his sleeve. A little girl laughing shyly, trying to hide her excitement with a napkin. Something in that scene felt warm. Human. When the waiter returned with a bill far larger than Ethan expected, his heart dropped. He must read the menu. The numbers were smaller, but the prices weren't. He tried to stay calm, but Lila noticed. "Daddy. Is everything okay?" He forced a smile. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Why don't you go pick a dessert from the tray?" The waiter's tone changed, polite, but edged. "Sir, we do require payment before additional orders." Ethan's face flushed. He reached into his wallet, counting the crumpled notes and coins, realizing he was short. He whispered, "Can I speak with the manager? I can cover most of it tonight." Lila's eyes dimmed. She tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, we can just go home." And then, a voice, calm, poised, yet filled with quiet authority, cut through the whispers. "She's with me." Every head turned. Isabella Knight stood at the end of their table, her presence freezing the waiter mid-step. "Miss Knight." The waiter stammered. She smiled gently. "I said, she's with me. And so is he." Ethan looked up, confused. Sorry, I think there's a mistake." "No mistake," she said, meeting his eyes. "Please, join us at our table." Arthur Knight's expression darkened as his daughter led the strangers to their table. "Isabella, what is this?" "Dinner, father," she replied simply. "With people who still remember what kindness feels like." The men at the table shifted uncomfortably, whispering. But Isabella ignored them. She looked at Lila and smiled warmly. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." Lila's eyes widened. "How did you know?" Isabella smiled. "I can always tell when someone deserves to be celebrated." Ethan sat quietly, unsure whether to feel grateful or embarrassed. But as the evening went on, he found himself talking. Really talking. He told Isabella about Lila's mother, about the car accident that took her away, about the nights he spent working double shifts as a mechanic, just to keep their tiny apartment. And Isabella listened. Not with pity, but with understanding. She knew what Les felt like. Her own mother had died when she was a teenager. At one point, Lila whispered, "Daddy, she looks like Mommy." The table went silent. Isabella's eyes softened. "Then your mom must have been beautiful." That night changed something in all three of them. Isabella couldn't stop thinking about Ethan and Lila, about the way he looked at his daughter with pride instead of despair, the way Lila's laughter lit up the dull corners of her mind. The next week, she visited Ethan's small garage. It wasn't much, cracked tiles, rusted tools, and a single flickering bulb. But she saw passion there. "You fix cars," she said softly. "But what if I could help you build something bigger?" He blinked. "I don't need charity, Miss Knight." "It's not charity," she replied. "It's faith. Faith in a man who works for his child's smile." Months passed. Ethan's small garage became Cole and Knight Auto Restorations, a partnership that blended his skill with her resources. He trained young mechanics from poor backgrounds, teaching them the craft that had once saved his own life. And through it all, Isabella was there, not as a billionaire, not as a savior, but as someone who had found something she'd been missing all along: family. Lila a daughter. She started calling her Aunt Bella, until one day, without thinking, she said, "Mom." The word hung in the air. Isabella froze. Ethel looked up, eyes glassy, but instead of correcting her, Isabella reached across the table, took Lila's hand, and whispered, "I'd be honored if you thought of me that way." A year later, at the same restaurant, they sat again by the window, the same table where everything began. Ethel looked across at Isabella, smiled, and said softly, "She's still with me." Isabella's eyes shimmered. "Yes," she whispered. "And she always will be." The candlelight flickered as Lila laughed, frosting on her nose again, just like the first night. And outside, beyond the glass, the city light